Bottle Boxing. Today's video will be reviewing a company based out of the UK. Started out in 2012, a company by the name of Fly Boxing. Fly is becoming a pretty much premium brand, a kind of high-end brand. You have seen UK-based boxers like Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois, just to name a couple, using these in their fights, in their pro fights. Fly does have a pro fight model by the name of Fly KYO. This model here being a training glove, it is the Superloop Pro X2. Superloop meaning the hook and loop velcro strap. On the exterior of the glove, this is a really nice looking glove. It is a high-end premium looking glove. I really like the color options that they offer. This obviously being the black and pink. They have other colors, gray, blue, white, red, a vast array. This glove here, this is a synthetic leather glove. So Fly does have a premium version where they use a more premium leather. This one here is more cost effective. So they use a synthetic leather for availability. I do like aesthetically, I do like the minimum logo. I've always been a fan of minimum logos. Not like a company that grew on me. Not like Rival has a complete entire front end print. But you know, for those who like the minimalistic views, I think Fly really kept it simple, really nice, really premium look. Continuing to look on the outside, the stitching on the outside, I think is pretty flawless stitching. No runoffs, it's probably machine stitched, pretty obviously. But yeah, no runoffs, no twisting, no curves. I think it's a really well done glove. When you stick your hand here, speaking of which, internally, it's a really good liner, really silky, really soft. Not very irritant at all. Nice moisture wicking, sweat wicking. You can see here, this is the 12-ounce model. Putting your hand here on the inside, it is a more compact glove. This is the Pro X2. Fly does have an original Pro X model. This is a more compact version, slightly compact with a different shaped thumb. I will bring out my original Pro X for comparison. It is a more compact fist, really natural fist. The landing surface of the glove, it is kind of rounded out. It's not very flat. So naturally it gives your knocking knuckle a bit of a lean. Not very noticeable, but you know, just as comparison to glove to not glove side, there is a bit of a knocking knuckle lean. But it does have a good natural position, very compact, high density foam. The wrist taper, very natural wrist taper. I know my wrist, my own wrist ends about here. This is about more or less where the glove begins to taper off. Very natural, very comfortable, very stable wrist as well. Now the wrist padding on these are very, very thin, but I think they make up for it with a very good, as you can see, it's a very high degree angle on the wrist strap. So it does keep it very stable, very low risk of injuring your wrist while using these on the bags. The palm flexibility, it is kind of about a 90-degree open palm. You do kind of have to focus on pulling your palm open. It's not because of the high density foam, it's not very easy to open, but you can. Does pretty good in your high guard, really good at your parrying. I think it does a good job overall of doing that. For the first time in my videos, I did take a tape measure and measured the length of the glove from the end of the knuckle pad to the bottom of the wrist. It measured 20.5 inches. Now, just for reference, it reaches about maybe just past the middle of my forearm. When you're using the glove, there's no issues turning your punch over. I didn't feel any uncomfort while using it, so I think it's a pretty good length. I also measured the width from the hood of the thumb over to the pinky. That measured 8 inches. Do with it what you will with that information. Maybe it'll help you out when you're making a decision. The exterior leather of this glove, like I said, this is a synthetic leather. It does have pretty much everything else from the premium version. The cost-effective synthetic leather. The coloring, dyeing, the logo, everything is, I've used these gloves a handful of times. I have zero issues with the leather or, you know, the synthetic leather. Zero issues with the logo. I think it's a really high quality logo. No chipping, no fading, no anything of that nature. For this being a training glove and being a high density foam, it is kind of not very protective, not very protective glove. I think it's a bit more of a puncher's glove. If I was to give it a percentage, for it being a training glove, give it a percentage, I'd say it's 50-50. It's not very protective, but it is, the high density foam does have a bit of flex to it. It's about a 50-50 puncher to protective glove. Like I said, HDF, high density foam. The wrist, moving here, the padding on the wrist, very thin. This is about a 1/4 of an inch thin. Same thing with the back of the wrist, same thing with the front of the wrist, very thin. But I think they do a very good job of making up for the thin padding with a very good velcro strap, very protective. Now these gloves, I think it's a very good value. These gloves here, they retail for about $225 US. I think it's a high quality glove. I think it is a high-end glove, albeit that, you know, it is synthetic leather. I'd say it's a good value. I think if I was to give it a letter grade, I would say it would be B-. I think it is a good quality glove and a decent price. To give this glove a score from 1 to 10, I think it's one of the higher graded gloves. I would give this glove an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a good quality glove, good value, very good price, very usable, a nice looking glove. You wear this glove to the gym, you're not gonna see too many Fly gloves here stateside, and when you do, it's gonna stand out because of their choice of colors. So continuing on with our letter grading system. The exterior of this glove, like I said, beautiful glove. I would give this glove an A for an exterior look. Interior of the glove, I'd say an A-. I think it's very high quality. The liner is beautiful. The fist compartment is nice. The thumb compartment is nice. I would give that an A, A-. Offensively, you know, speaking in terms of its usage, comfort while, you know, turning your punches over and pinching and numbness, it's a B-. I think this is a very good glove, a bit on the compact side. While using it, I found an issue here with the stitching towards the pinky side where it kind of squeezed into my pinky just a little bit. I think that kept it from being an A grade, but I think a B- is a fair grade for offensive use. Defensively, because it does have a 90-degree, because of the 90-degree palm flexibility and you know, defensive things that you can do with it, parrying, high guard, and blocking. I would give this a B- grade as well. I think you can do a lot worse, you know, defensively with a glove. And a value, you know, like we said, a value grade because of the price and the quality of the glove, I would give it also a B-. To give it an overall grade, this is a B+ glove. I think it's one of the better gloves you can get, especially at the price point. I think B+ is more than fair. Yeah, so B+ overall grade and 8.5 score out of 10. I think this is a very high quality glove. I highly recommend Fly gloves. Give them a try. They are a bit hard to come by, but when you do find one, I can assure you, rest assured, it's going to be a good quality glove. I guess that'll wrap up today's episode. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know, let me know what you think. Let me know, you know, if there's gloves that you're interested in seeing. I might have one. Yeah, tune in. We'll see you again.